caves and margaritas. Joyce and Gavin talking about their favorite features.
Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of
Man caves and
fruit juice.
a cup of tea.
What have you got?
I do have my own fruit juice. I wasn't warned that I'd be branching it.
Alcohol free. Not really. No, just joking. So, before I introduce our guest today, which I've been delighted and Driz as well to have along with us for the ride, I just want to say a big thank you to our latest subscribers. We've had another 15 to 20 more subscribers since our last video, and welcome aboard. Good to have you here. If you know any of your friends that like this sort of thing, get them to look, subscribe, like, and that'd be fan-dabby-dozy. And the other thing to mention is a big shout out to Luna. Luna is our competition winner this week, and she walks away with a lovely print of Leon.
Well done, Luna.
The answer to the question, by the way, in what film is the character mentioned to work at Tyrell Corporation? Do you know that? I asked Karl.
Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's the Tyrell Corporation. But
Right.
what film has a main character that's mentioned that actually works there? Mention it's a little nod.
Is it Aliens? Alien? I can't remember which one.
Got it, Aliens.
Although, technically, when you say main character, they're a main character in Alien and not a main character in Aliens.
Do you know what?
So there's a
You
technical...
can go.
No,
just kidding.
No, it's fair. It's
No,
fair.
Who is this man?
Yeah.
So this gentleman here is Karl Poyzer.
Poyzer.
Thank you. I should know. I've just finished teaching him to drive.
No, it's a weird name, but it's true.
And we're delighted to have Karl here. Karl is a director himself. Has directed multiple music videos.
So I directed animation and I've directed a couple of bits, but for the most part, I've been a cinematographer. So any directing that I've done is really a case of dipping my toe in the last few years, really.
Although currently you're working on something, aren't you?
Yeah, currently about to start shooting a feature film, which will be exciting. So that starts shooting in 3 days.
Are you allowed to say anything for a little plug for yourself there? You're allowed, or is it a bit hush-hush?
I mean, there's no embargo or anything, but it's a film that stars Michael Soccer, and we start shooting in 3 days. So I've been sort of down there for the last week and a bit doing the prep, and I've been building the set, and so we've just been kind of going through and like deep diving into all the shots with the directors. It's a director duo, which is always fun. And it's sort of comedy, fast, set in a house, a little bit emotional. Can't wait to kind of get going with it. Really.
You mentioned animation as well, and what I'll do is I'll put in the comments, I'm going to put a link to a couple of Karl's animations called Floaters, part 1 and part 2, I think it's called, isn't it?
We've made three. Well, yeah, we're working on the fourth. So we started doing animations in lockdown because we weren't able to shoot live action stuff, and they kind of went quite well. I think we had a bit of a captive audience of people stuck in their apartments and houses during COVID, and we were making fairly light-hearted kind of comedy sci-fi stuff. So we had a lot of fun doing those. And
I think for anybody that hasn't seen Floaters, definitely watch it, particularly if you liked the short animations that were on Netflix. What were they called? They've done 2 series now.
Love, Death and Robots.
Love, Death and Robots. If you particularly like the one with the robots that visit the apocalyptic Earth, all the you'll get a great idea of the vibe.
By the many hundreds of comments from people saying, "Oh, I thought this was an episode of..."
Could well have been.
Which is very lovely.
Yeah.
But we haven't got any of that Netflix money yet, so if you want to watch
Yeah. Okay, so we're here today because Karl's chosen the film for us to watch. You might not have noticed it's not Duke and it's not Blade Runner 20.
Oh.
Yeah, 20.
Oh, did you say it was Duke next?
Yeah, but Duke can't make it, so he's going to come along to one of our other ones. So don't worry, Duke, you'll be on board. Karl here, though, had choice of film. Karl, what did we watch?
So we ultimately ended up watching Riders of Justice, which is a film that I'd seen a about a year ago, I think, 2 years ago maybe.
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for this. It Facebook trailered, and it's got Mads Mikkelsen in it, which is why it's stuck in my mind because I love him as an actor. But then it kind of went off my radar a little bit because it didn't really get a big release.
I've not heard of it. Yeah, it's very pleasant surprise.
Well, I guess a very broad question would be: do you feel that it's sort of unknown status is deserved, or are you surprised by the fact that not more people?
Oh,
well, I think as a foreign language film, it is hard to get any kind of widespread recognition, and with it not being on Netflix, I assume, or anything like that, then no, it's not going to get known, is it? But what are the reviews like? Were they
96% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, there you go.
If critics left it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a university.
It might not be well known, but I'd certainly recommend it.
Well, should we put Karl out of his misery and let him know what we think first before we then start asking him questions as to why he may have chosen himself and stuff like that? Sure. He might be thinking, did they like it? Did they not? Because we said there's no talking, is there?
I feel confident. I feel quite confident. But
well, you don't have a good reaction, no points.
I hated it. No, I thought it was great. I really liked it. I thought it had an awful lot going for it. And your question about do you think it deserves to be not that well known? No, it definitely deserves to be far more widespread and have a chance to be recognised by a lot of people.
Yeah, I would second that. That was right up my street. I mean, I like him anyway. But having said that, to say how powerfully he is as a character on screen in anything I watch him in, everybody else did such a great job because I fell in love with all the characters, actually. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
No.
I thought it was going to be just a pure, quite a serious film about revenge. Although there's a revenge element to it, there's so much more going on in that film.
I thought it was going to be like a dark, moody cop investigation kind of mystery thriller. But then something happens about third way through that is completely shocking. It completely makes you think, oh, okay, let's go with this now. We're more on the roller coaster now.
I mean, we'll cover these points as we discuss it, but the biggest thing for me out of that film was about how other characters who are also broken are able to help to fix characters that are too broken as well. And I really liked all the character dialogue stuff, actually. And to me, the revenge stuff was second nature part of it, really. The drama was coming out for me even more so than that. But there you go. I guess we'll talk about that in a sec. What I would say is, I mean, we paid to get this off of YouTube. If you look at the actual title screen for it on YouTube, literally, you summed it up, Karl, didn't you? You said it looked like a what?
A B movie.
It really did, didn't it? Big fake explosion on some Hell's Angels behind a rather tough-looking Mads Mikkelsen.
I don't think there's a single motorbike in that film.
There's a bike.
There's not a bike. There's not a motorbike.
There's supposed to be a biker's
There's weirdly not a single motorbike in it, and there's motorbikes on the poster.
So do you want to do the honours of giving everybody like a little bit of a brief summary as to it? Because obviously spoilers. People know that we do spoilers. So give them a little summary of the film's story, if you like.
So yeah, it's basically the story of. I mean, the film starts with a kind of mother and daughter who go on a trip into the city, and there's a tragic train accident which kills the mother, and the father character, who's in an army somewhere, I assume in the Middle East, gets kind of called back to look after his daughter, and there's a kind of side plot with a character on the train with who's there at the time, who swaps seats with the mother, and ultimately is technically kind of the reason that the mother dies, and they get intertwined, and it's a very difficult one to pitch. Like, the elevator pitch for this movie is like, maybe a guy goes on a revenge hunt to track down the people who supposedly kind of caused the death of his wife, but I mean that's underselling it.
Yeah, I mean,
massively. You know?
It completely becomes this story about what is coincidences and what things can happen, like a sliding doors kind of situation. What things have to happen first for other things to then happen, and then some, and then some.
Yeah.
And throughout the story, you meet this really lovely band of misfits, as how I would describe them.
Yeah.
Misfits geeks, who band with Mads Mikkelsen's character. And all the while this is happening, because she's lost her mother, Mads is now trying to form a relationship with his daughter that he hasn't really had to do before, because he's been away in the army. And, so there is a lot of human drama going on. Yeah. And then every now and then there's like a really cool shootout. Someone gets shot in the head and Mads really goes to town and does his thing, which is all very
It's all the stuff you kind of want to see with Mads Mikkelsen. And the character that no one really talks about in this film is Mads Mikkelsen's gun control. I mean, he's like... The way in which that man holds a gun, right, is it's quite stunning.
He's very believable. He must have had weeks of training, I'm sure, don't you think? He was awesome, wasn't he?
Just the way that man holds a gun. It's
cynical.
Almost kind of just take it for granted now that Mads Mikkelsen's brilliant at everything he does.
Yes. Well, the first bit of violence he does is okay, so I'll get excited now because I've remembered the scene. We don't see him do anything particularly violent until he knocks on the door of the first person that he and his friends believe is responsible for this train crash. And the guy pulls a gun on him. And all the other geeks are like, whoa, let's get out of here. They turn their backs and walk away. And he walks away with them. And you think, oh, okay. And then he turns back around and the music changes. And it does that a couple of times in the film. When
it has a sort of Dead Man's Shoes sort of feel about it.
Really
it's like a sort of Scandinavian Dead Man's Shoes sort of feel.
The music goes dark. He turns around and he's just got a look on his face and you just think, okay, shit's going down. And he literally goes back, knocks on the door, guy answers, he gets him in an arm lock, gets the gun out of his hand, and then literally snaps his neck. Yeah. And that's when you realise, whoa.
Yeah.
This is a character not to be trifled with.
Well, the big twist is the other people that are along for the ride, they're not in there for anything like that. They just want to find evidence to show the police. But now they're all suddenly involved, and they're just like these people on the outskirts of society that don't really know how to handle themselves. And
I feel like a lesser writer director would maybe have left that scene kind of there, really. But and again, I won't go into the finer details, but there's another element on top of that scene after he goes back into the house.
He goes back in.
There's just like it's just I don't know, the layers in which I think it's why it's important as a director and a writer to just really drill down into the like take a scene and go, okay, well this kind of makes sense and it does everything that I want it to do. But then if you go down another layer and then you just discover something completely new, and it's really.
What's clever because basically like you say the elevator pitch is very simple and very uninspiring, but of course it's the way it's delivered and the little hidden bits that you're not expecting that really drive it. Also tied in with the, I still even think with all those little subtleties, it wouldn't be that interesting if it wasn't for the characters in the actual film.
Because
we've seen that movie, we've seen, maybe even from Mads Mikkelsen, but like,
Horsemen of the Apocalypse. We've just watched Kill Bill. I mean, that's a revenge story in itself, isn't it? Yeah. So this is a revenge film, certainly, but told very dramatically through brilliant characterisation.
It's just it kind of tells us all the time from a writing point of view the idea of like knowing what the character thinks they need. And then also knowing what the character really needs. And I think that, like, again, this is a trope in a lot of revenge thrillers. It's, what the main character thinks they need is just revenge. And that's never the case.
No.
There's always like another, and I think this film kind of beautifully really illustrates from kind of day one that, like, the audience is very, very aware of in actuality what this character needs to do. And it has nothing to do with breaking necks. However kind of cinematically cool it is. And I think because it knows that about itself and it knows the audience knows that, it has no problem very early on subverting what you would expect. and it allows for for them to play with the wider orchestra of cinematic tools, I think.
I really liked in the storytelling, I really liked how they get us as the viewer on board with the good, let's say the good guy characters, easy just to describe, they get us on board with the good guy characters so that we also believe that this train crash isn't a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And all the evidence is there to suggest that it isn't. And so we are then sold on the fact that this idea of revenge is warranted and what he's doing is correct. Mm-hmm. And then you get to a bit in the film where you realise, oh shit, it actually was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
And it's told quite comically when the moment sinks in.
Yeah, and this is what they bought them to. I mean, the way that you as an audience learn that the whole thing wasn't what you thought it was does not come through the most subtle, beautiful writing. It comes from the line of dialogue where you learn that the thing that you think is so shoehorned in that it's like, and so unashamedly, essentially it comes down to like a guy who, gets off the train while throwing away an expensive sandwich. And that's the evidence that they have. Like, well, why would he have thrown away a €16 sandwich and a juice? And then ultimately the way that you find out that and
it actually really was a guy who lived in an Arabic country, and they were like poo-pooing that right at the start, and no, find someone that's a little bit closer back in Norway, and it's like
the guy ultimately gets home from Norway and Denmark, and basically the first thing he tells his family is that he had a sandwich and a juice that he not that he was very nearly in a very fatal. That's the other thing. He was like just got off.
That scene actually. There was one shot. I don't know if you noticed, but it had the pyramids of Giza in the background.
Yeah.
It's like it was only on. I love it when like it was a superstar shot, wasn't it? But they only had it on screen for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
We actually, the film on Traffic at the moment, we've got a shot it's one shot we need to do in Greece. And I think we're going to go to Greece to do it rather than doing it on a green screen. But I think just because it's funny. I think it's just the idea of us going over and doing that with like 3 of us.
Sometimes it can be that, can't it? Just a lot of effort to get a small shot that's only seconds long, but it has a big impact.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
most people wouldn't even realise what that shot took. Right. It just makes him feel good inside,
So we're talking about the cinematography then. I mean, obviously, Dries, this is your field as well. So I've got 2, very experienced cinematographers here. What did you think to the cinematography, Dries, yourself?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put myself on the same level as Karl.
He's
definitely taller than you.
I mean,
I'd be far more interested in hearing Karl's take, to be honest.
I mean, to be honest, I think I don't know. Maybe just me getting older. Maybe is that like the cinematography of that film was. It wasn't at any point trying to kind of be the main character, and I think that like it was just the right cinematography for that film. It looked lovely. They did some really nice stuff. There's a big barn set in it, and it was lit. It was lit beautifully. We can get on the barn later, but I think that like it felt like there was a synergy there. And one of the things you don't want is when the cinematography or any department seems to sort of like take precedent over any other. And I think that. That felt like a film that probably didn't have the most money in the world, but everything was kind of cohesive. The production design, the set design, the way that they covered it.
The hair and makeup was nice as well.
Yeah,
they were all quite frazzily looking, weren't they? All
costume in particular, I thought was gorgeous.
Yeah,
it's a very naturalistic looking form of cinematography.
I think it's the kind of cinematography that I'm into. I don't feel like that film, loads of people are going to be walking away like talking about the cinematography of it, and I think that's rightly so. With any film, I think it was the right cinematography for that film. But it looked lovely, shot digitally, some nice camera movement. They had, good use of Steadicam and
some of the talking about more technical stuff. There's a couple of the effect shots. I mean, there's only a couple of effect shots, but I thought they were done really interesting. So when the train crashes.
Yeah, that would have been
rather than doing anything in CGI and stuff, they just turn off all the lights in a row and put out loads of sparks coming from the windows and magnets.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was
effective.
Very, very good sell.
Yeah,
effective.
I think that was their set build of the film. They built the thing. I think there was more VFX in that than you probably would think. And that's why it was good. Do you know what I mean? Because they just held it. It all happened basically in one shot. I was waiting for your reaction to that because I remember when I first saw it, I just had absolutely no idea.
The train crash.
Unless you'd seen the trailers, and I hadn't.
Yeah, it was shocking. Yeah,
it was
I might have said, "Whoa."
Yeah, it was like a real moment.
Yeah,
it's because they didn't set it up. They didn't have any external shots or any brooding music creeping up or anything. It was just bang, one shot. Like you said, the shot only lasted for 2 seconds, and all the lights had gone.
Yeah,
so you were just what?
It
felt like you'd been slapped.
I think, to be honest, those limitations, and I talk about this a lot, but they would have looked at that and gone, right, okay, we don't have a huge amount of money and we've got to do a big train crash. They would have had to have found a clever way to do it. And I think whenever you're making any film, finding the clever way to do something rather than brute force.
Good filmmakers, though. Because a lot of people, even if they haven't got a lot of budget, would say, fuck it, let's just do it in CGI. And it would have looked cheap and
nasty.
Yeah, because they didn't have a budget.
I mean, not to plug my own thing, but I talk about this a lot with floaters, is that the whole conceit of floaters is essentially me animating something and going, well, I've never animated before and I can't animate people because people are really hard. So how do we do something, that we want to do with dialogue that doesn't have people in it? And I think because of that, we'd made a thing because of that limitations that were unique and people hadn't seen before because we didn't know what we were doing. And I think that sometimes that same thing goes. I talked about this recently on the film where things were going wrong, and so plan A had kind of gone out the window in terms of the way we wanted to do things. What that meant was that the writers and directors had to revisit what they'd originally gone to, and I think going back and revisiting is never a bad thing because it's your first instinct is rarely going to be the very possible best way of doing it. And I think that with stuff like that where you've got to do a train crash and you've probably not got a huge amount of money, you have to be smart about how you do it and thus make something that is more unique and shocking. So I think sometimes, I mean, not in everything, but that can be a good thing.
Well, when you're forced to be inventive, you can, I mean, I suppose the biggest example of that I can think of is when the shark breaks down in Jaws.
Yeah,
Spielberg gets to come up with loads of others, and it makes it a 10 times better film than if you'd have seen it. I totally agree. The acting I thought was very, very strong from every character actually. Particularly thought the young girl was going. She could only have been 15.
She was fantastic. I thought exactly the same.
I thought she carried herself really, really well, didn't she? With it all, they sell it really great. Beautifully done. The music was subtle, but like you said, I suppose because you don't want anything to take away too much from what we're watching regarding the story in this one. It's nice music.
Well, I think the real motif in terms of the music was the choir music. Oops. You'd think that I would turn. That's the director.
Okay.
I'm gonna reject it though because it probably isn't important. I'll call it back later.
It's okay. It's only got a budget of 1 million.
He's a night owl. I'll call him back later.
Check the video and just say this is when you rang.
Yeah. This is the. Hey Ed. Ed. Funnily enough, Ed actually for any Star Wars nerds out there, Ed just starred in the new Star Wars show, The Acolyte, and he's now known online as being the Fat Jedi because he's
wow, really?
Yeah, that's Ed. Yeah.
Okay, I'm watching that at the moment. Has he been in the first episode? Oh, sorry,
I actually don't know because, and sorry Ed, I actually just refuse to watch anything you're in. But he's also in the newest Batman film. He plays one of the cops in
well, you know what, Ed?
I won't watch that either.
I quite if you are the Tubby Jedi, I think you're doing a great job.
Fat Jedi, got it right. Yeah,
I'm Jedi. I'm Jedi with you, don't worry. So acting, big tick for me. I take it same then.
Well, I'd like to point out that the film, in essence, like going back to your how hard an elevator picture is, even with all its like, you know, nuances and things like that, I still think it wouldn't work if it wasn't for the casting. The casting is grade A, and it makes me wonder, like, in Denmark, are those people like really famous?
Good
because
point.
you know, people like that just don't come out of the woodwork, do they?
I only recognise 2 people in
And they've got such. They seem to have a bond with each other. You know, you believe their relationship. You know, sometimes people that are supposed to be friends in films, you can read the script as they're acting, but they seem so at peace with each other.
I think it just makes your life, you know, as a crew member, I think it just makes your life so much easier. I mean, we were talking about this the other day in terms of the thing that we're going on to is that, you know, budget has been tight and a lot of money's gone on to cast, but my word, you know, like, I'll, you know, maybe complain that I can't, you know, get a specific lens or something, but ultimately my job will have been made 1,000 times easier because I'm pointing the lens at a very good cast, you know, like Michael Socker and Hugh Bonneville, people like that. Like, yeah, my job will become immeasurably easier. And with a film like that, it just, without that strong cast, which starts at Mads Mikkelsen, but my God, I mean, like, you can't imagine that film working without, you know, those I can't think of it. You know, there's few films I think that have such a strong sort of like cast that you don't see coming as being like so important.
I mean, it's the fact that they handled the harder edged drama really, really well. So when there was emotional stuff involved, they were all on it with that. And they were all on it with their own mental, because it deals with mental health and stuff like that really well too.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, what surprised me the most was how much comedy was in it. But the comedy was done at the right, well, I thought so anyway, done at the right places, not overdone, not stupid comedy either, but done at the right places, and they were handling it, again, timing and handling, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and some of it was quite dark, and some of it was wrapped in dark. I mean, like, my favourite human motif in it was the joke about the guy just being kind of like really interested in the barn, which I just think was so funny. But that's wrapped in some really dark. Some really dark, really dark.
Why is he interested in the barn?
Yeah, and it is. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'll leave that to audience.
Well, let's just say the story develops so that you find out his backstory, again, subtly told, but told through this comments initially about this barn until you realise that when he was younger, he was abused in a barn.
Yeah. The joke is so funny. Yeah. I'd forgotten. I remembered the joke. I'd forgotten the other stuff. And, like, you know, because I remember on his side, I was like, the way that, yeah. I think as well, if you're, you know, occasionally when I've written comedy, that idea of, like, setting up a motif early that you can kind of come back to, it does that so well. And I think, like, my main overarching feeling with this film is that it sets things up and gives you payoffs so effectively.
Yeah, definitely.
That, like, you know, the French horn, an amazing payoff. Yeah. The bike, obviously, an amazing payoff, and you know that's coming. Like, all of these things that, you know, it sets up, and the reason I chose it, and the reason it's kind of my kind of film, is because I can't remember who described this. I don't know, and I can't remember who they were describing. It might have been Fincher. But, like, the idea that, like, when you watch one of his films, is that you get the full sound of, like, what filmmaking could be. And I think that, yeah, a film like that, it not only is, like, very, very genuinely funny, but also genuinely you know, you absolutely could cry. What, you know?
Oh yeah,
it was, and to do both of those things, like, ultimately, well, another film I considered watching was Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's another film where it's like you've got, like, people with sausage fingers, like, doing stupid stuff, and then also I'm, like, crying because, like, some people aren't falling into a bagel and stuff. Like, I think that, again, that full, you're just pulling every tool out of the toolbox and using it, and it's not doing any one of, you know, because it's like you wouldn't watch that and then watch a strict drama and go like, well, the strict drama has more merit than that does, because that's got action in it and it's got some funny jokes about a barn. It's like, I have so much respect for you being able to do all of the emotional, and we're dealing with serious trauma, sexual assault and stuff, and it doesn't feel disrespectful.
No, it's a brave thing to tackle those topics but put a but by putting a lighter spin on them, when it then gets to when you get to that realization yourself, when you realize, oh, it does actually can be quite a bit more impactful, can't it?
Yeah, it's also nobody really takes a centre role, do they? I mean, obviously, Mads Mikkelsen's like the handsome, like, action hero part of it. But there's quite a wide cast. Like, is there 6 or 7 casts probably?
Leads, that share the screen.
And none of them get like more shine than any other. And all of them have got proper motivation, haven't they? Proper backstory and stuff.
An ensemble cast. And the tricky thing, because I've attempted to write ensemble cast stuff, is that like you really have to give all of those cast like a motivation, a thing that they want. You have to give them a payoff, and they do that so sort of expertly, and they keep throwing them in there. Like, they're not afraid to be like, right, here's a new cast member, and you're gonna have to follow this person along, and we're gonna have to give them a payoff. And they succeed in that, and that's a very difficult thing from a writing point of view. It didn't feel at any point like the writing process on this would have been super straightforward or easy, because
it's not a first draft, is it? That's
and
if
it
was like fair play, and that was that was. But
even when moments in it happened that I did foresee a little bit, even when you start to foresee the moment, it gives you a little chuckle in your head. So, like, for example, there's a bit where Mads is after being like badgered into it by the computer geek guy to show them how to shoot a gun.
Yeah.
There's a whole scene where he's trying to show them how to assemble a gun, and the one guy just assembles it like that. And there's a comment like, well, why would you ever not have your guns already pre-assembled? Which immediately makes you think, okay, so at some point...
I mean, it's literally a Chekhov's gun. It's like the opposite of a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, it's funny because the whole thing about filmmaking is if you see a gun in a movie, at some point it's going to be used. And that's literally what they've done, isn't it?
Yeah, but the moment when you realise there's a bag down in the cellar and all the guns are unassembled, don't you? At some point, his character... But the beauty of it is that you don't see his character do it. You just kind of know it's going to happen. Yeah. And when it does happen, there's a little moment where you're a little bit like,
and ultimately as well, it's not just you see the act, like you kind of know, you see it coming. It's a final firefight. There's people that you've not seen for a while. They're gonna have to save the day. But there's so much. There's so many layers to that. I mean, one of the characters has a disabled arm. And the way that they, the final firefight is him holding a gun one-handed with a slightly. It's those little nuances, and I'm sure the actors brought a lot to the table, with that stuff, and you can kind of feel that. But it was surprising that all of them, you could walk away, you could do an episode of this on each one of those.
Yeah, each one of them.
They were all so beautifully realised, and none of them felt like the butt of the joke. Including the antagonists in the film, kind of make a very good point. I mean, he's like, "This sucks. Why
are you doing this?
Why is this happening?" I mean, the wording of "this sucks" is everyone felt there was a slight amount of sympathy thrown towards all the characters, really.
I think the fact it was a foreign language film as well. I don't think I've ever watched a film in a Danish production anyway, and everything came across so seamlessly in the translation, in the subtitles.
Not easy to do. And the humour, you'd think a lot of countries you haven't had much access to, you don't know if the humour will come across, but it felt like a humour that anyone in the world could actually understand.
I think so.
But they had their own little nuances, didn't they? Like when they swore, the words they used, the swear words, and the order they did it in was absolutely hilarious. And that's obviously how they swear. But if that was in an American film, it'd be someone taking the piss out of Danish people, wouldn't it? But it was so well done.
That's part of the set. That's probably about 600 pounds.
600. I really lowballed at 30. Okay.
I agree actually. And while we're talking about the subtitles, they did the subtitles really well, because for not often, we've talked about this before when we've talked about subtitles. Sometimes they come up and go so fast, you feel like you've got to really quickly read them to go back. But I felt I could quite leisurely read those, and they were doing them sometimes where they were putting them in like a left-hand block.
Yeah.
So they were keeping the whole script rather than putting them all the way across. It was kind of
interesting.
and I don't know whether that was what made it feel quite easy to read, but it was. Yeah, I forgot I was watching a subtitle film about 20 minutes in.
Yeah,
easily, you know.
I think as well because the language, the cinematic language, was so sort of easy to watch. You know, it's the thing. You know, I often talk about with like Korean cinema, a lot of Asian cinema, where it's like the camera and the blocking and the production design is like so easy on the eye that like I think that helped because you weren't like there wasn't like loads of crazy handheld camera. It was very well thought out from that point.
Distraction free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of everything. You know, everything was just on the screen.
Yeah,
which was lovely.
Yeah, it's hard to follow a foreign language film when there's loads of cuts and loads of fast action cuts and things. You can't decide which one you want to look at, and it becomes a bit like too much.
Yeah, no, they're restrained and they're kind of patient with the way that they. The way that they shot it.
Well, I'm definitely going to be putting that in as far as my Mads Mikkelsen film knowledge of films go. I have certain favourites of his. One of my favourites is one that you mentioned when we were trying to guess the film, and that's one called The Hunt, which, if you've not seen that, I thoroughly recommend that. That's also no humour in that, though. It's a very dark story of go and find out for yourselves. But that was for a while probably my favourite Mads Mikkelsen film. Actually, I wouldn't say what I've just watched is better because it's totally different in tone. But I would definitely say it's up there as one of my favourite films of his.
It sounds like as well. You should probably watch Another Round, which is perhaps. I mean, it would be. Yeah, I mean, it's the same director as The Hunt, I believe. And I mean, again, sort of like just a very, very different kind of performance from what we've seen. It goes to show like the spectrum of his ability.
Yeah.
But like, Another Round is just another really good, very easy to watch film. Again, with a sort of ensemble cast of slightly stupid and lovable kind of idiots. With Mads Mikkelsen at the centre. So, it'd be interesting to see after you've seen that, like where you sort of.
What's that called again?
Another Round.
Another Round.
It's a film about like 3 teachers, and one of them reads a study. I think that if you stay at like a certain level of drunkenness, life is good, and essentially they, as an experiment, these 3 teachers,
they can do that.
These three teachers basically decide to try and stay at this level of drunk, but obviously things go very awry very quickly. And it's just another beautiful movie with a beautiful ending. It's very, very cool.
Well, I mean, what I'd like before I say, here's the thing. I like to mark a film.
Wait, I've got one more thing I wanted to say about this film. Was that I thought there's a really clever bit at the beginning where you meet all these like oddballs, the cast, and they're all very strange. And I was actually thinking, is this film about people having OCD? Because they all seem to have OCD, and then like literally 30 seconds later, they said the guy on the train had OCD, and I was like, there's some message here.
They were definitely talking about mental health, and they were talking. What I got from it as well was, especially with Mads' character, is that no matter what sort of man you are, you should never be afraid to talk about your mental health. And that's pretty much how it ends, with him admitting to the daughter finally.
What was the other effect? I said there was 2 effects I wanted to talk about. When he headbutted the mirror. God!
I think he probably headbutted the mirror.
Do you think that was him? I was going to say, did he improvise that?
Was that by effect?
Well, I think it would have probably been, I assume,
a weakened one.
A sugar glass or something.
Well, you hope so, would you?
But I mean, I imagine when they've done that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No.
You can even get not glass, but like even more reflective and real looking than sugar glass, where they weaken in certain places that you can't see.
The thing, I think that would have, probably there would have been some planning, but No, but the thing I noticed about that is that like the next thing he tries to do is like pull something off the wall that wouldn't come off the wall, which makes me believe that like that was just like, it was like, right, Mads, go, see what happens. And they cut quickly after that, but like, I imagine the way that, and I could be wrong, but I think they would have just let him, get into the zone and go to town. And the way the restraint that it showed the majority of that scene when he has his meltdown happens. You hear it, it's all audio. And it's the thing we were talking about again on this film, where we're doing scenes and, things are shot listed. And, I'm constantly kind of saying, like, remember what we can do here with the audio. And, don't have to, like, see everything because... and they do that kind of really beautifully in that film.
The audio is when his head hits the glass and it cracks and stuff. Yeah, that's what sells it, isn't it?
Yeah. I did love that scene actually where they pulled out and we were looking at the young lad just with the Hoover and you know what's happening because, like I say, you can hear it all. But the fact that we don't see it, when we're watching it from his perspective, is a really nice way of doing that. Yeah, and a totally different way of doing it. He's
like cleaning now, but
cracking. Yeah. Right. Okay. So look. First of all, thanks very, very much for bringing that to our attention. It has been on my radar, but totally not what I expected, and I'm really, really glad you brought that in for us to watch today. Agreed. Thank you. I'm going to give that a really, really good score. What
do you do here? Is it?
I go to 10. You can do what you want. Driz always does what he wants. He doesn't score, do you? Normally you'll comment about your feelings about it. You could score it out of 100 if you wanted.
Right.
You might not want to score it at all. You might
A-.
You could. You could give it
enthusiastic.
You could do that. You could do that.
2 out of 2. Got 2 thumbs in his ear.
Out of 1, I'd like to give it 1. I'll score out of 10, and that I think you've already guessed already. That's not disappointed me at all. I really like that, and I can see me watching that again, in another year and enjoying it just as much. So I'm going to go pretty high actually. For me to not score it a 10 means I've got to say there's stuff about it that I didn't like, and there wasn't anything I didn't like. So I can't do anything but say 10 out of 10. So
wow.
Well, I know. I mean, that's logical, isn't it?
Well,
I'm not saying that just because you've done it. Because trust me, if we didn't like that, we would say. We have had films in the past that haven't quite. Not many though. We've done quite well actually. But that was really strong for me, Karl. Thank you.
I remembered it because last night I was going back through my letterbox. Do you guys use letterbox?
I've got a letterbox outside on my fence. Is that we mean?
A little bit older than me. Letterboxd is the app that us youngins use to log and rate every film that we've ever seen.
Oh, okay.
And then you can have your friends on it, and you can see what people are watching and stuff. So I haven't logged every film that I've ever seen, but I was scrolling back through, and I sorted it by rating. I'm a little bit like fast and loose with my ratings because I'm going back, like, fucking hell, I gave that quite a score. That's out of 5 stars, but you can put half stars, so essentially 10. Okay. And on my rating, it had the full 5. Yeah. I think there's an element of that just going like, I think there's a bit of conversation going like, not enough people have heard of this film, and so I need to talk about it, shout about it, maybe more than if it, then I would be like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I think I also gave 5 out of 5.
Can I just say, for the record, actually, Karl, I can remember now Karl mentioning about his letterbox, but I could also remember probably just going, but not really concentrating on what he was saying. It would have been while we were having a driving lesson, and we would probably have been approaching either a bus that had pulled in or a roundabout, maybe.
Or death, just impending death.
So I was probably
reversing into a bush like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. True.
Okay.
So
strong.
Yeah, I for me, again, I feel similar to you. It's the full. I'm always looking for just that full orchestral sound of like everything, and if you can make me wholeheartedly laugh and genuinely cry, and look, there's a bit of fucking action in there, and you go, a good neck break as well. I mean, that's a very rare thing, and it's the kind of filmmaking I want to do. I don't like ever sort of getting stuck on any one thing. So for me, it's kind of a perfect Karl movie, really. Not that I don't love things that just stay in their lane, but I think it just shows a real, high level of filmmaking and writing skill.
Good, nice feedback, very good. Yeah. Mr. David.
Well, Karl's just said what I was going to say. Actually, well, what I was going to say was, if you're interested in a really well-written film, just rewind a bit back to earlier in this chat when Karl was on about how there's loads of payoffs all the way through. And it is a very, very good example of that, and it stands up to the masters.
Oh man, I mean, the stuff I'm writing at the moment that I need to go back and revisit. I'd forgotten, how good it was, and I will be going back and just pilfering the beats out of that.
Yeah,
movie, it's like the payoff.
It's an intimidating level of perfection.
Yeah, to have written and directed that as well. I mean, that that's very annoying.
It's proper filmmaking, and I'd recommend it to everyone.
I would definitely recommend that too.
And I'd hate to see a Hollywood remake because I don't believe they'd get all the nuances of the actors and stuff. They wouldn't be able to deliver that story.
No, it would change everything. They would change the whole.
Yeah, it probably would happen at some point, but no.
Right, so now you have a good idea of what we think about your film. Thank you very much. We now have to do a little bit now where we, definitely.
Thanks, Karl.
Definitely.
Top lad.
Yeah, fantastic. And thanks for passing your test first attempt with me.
Yeah, God, this would have been quite awkward at the
It would have
moment.
been very awkward. You'd probably be smashing things off and stuff.
The swords as well.
Thank goodness. Dwight, you're choosing the next film.
Oh, yeah.
We have Karl with me, so tell me if you've got clues.
I don't believe you're going to get it. I don't really know if I can even give you clues that you will get it. I think Karl might have seen it because it just seems a Karl type of film. I'd give you a 50% chance of seeing it.
Okay.
So it's like an experimental sci-fi, really mega low budget from like maybe the early 2000s or late 2000s. I've got a funny feeling it might be an Australian production, but I don't think it's set in Australia. And it's about, in fact, I think I'm confusing it with another movie. I think I'm just going to tell you what it is.
Give me a couple more clues.
Can you remember?
Oh, it's a horror.
It's a horror. Cube.
No, it's
early 2000s horror.
It's not well known at all.
Not well known at all.
But it might be to aficionados of the genre.
You say sci-fi?
It's a kind of sci-fi horror, yeah.
Sci-fi horror, early 2000s, low budget.
Though I think I'm mixing the sci-fi up a little bit. And it's about... I honestly can't even think how to give you clues. And
Go on then.
It's a real shame. It's The Empty Man.
The Empty Man. No, I wouldn't have got it.
No, never would have got that.
Heard it? No. Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well done, mate.
Well, this will be the first time we've been watching a film that neither of us has seen. Oh, no.
Well.
I've said it. I thought Karl was coming along then. You have to come
I'm going to... a little bit busy
I
today.
don't mean I'm safe then.
When you
So I get cut my t-shirt and I just walk off.
When you fancy a treat after your month-long shoot, if everything goes well, check out The Empty Man.
The Empty Man.
And send me a text, tell me what you think.
That'll probably describe me after I finish that film, to be honest, so might be relevant.
So Daniel, very, very good. Now, the very, very final thing before we sign off is to do a competition again. So I have, so I thought I brought these on because obviously with Karl being into his animation,
Right.
I thought it would be nice to have gifts, prizes that would totally fit the bill for animation.
I'd like to zoom in on those.
So
you can hold them up.
So we have Shrek and Donkey. Yay! That will sit on someone's desk. If you love your Shrek, these are wicked. These are from Shrek 1. He should have a helmet actually, but don't know where it went. That was when he was on his journey to meet the dragon, as you can see from his smoky eyes. So my question is, of all the Shrek films, and there are 4.
I'm not allowed to answer if I know it, right?
You can guess, but you can guess.
If I know it.
If you actually genuinely know it, well, we'll just give you these and you'll have ruined everything.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
As well as the props.
Quite like Shrek.
So you've ruined the props.
Alright, go
You take the prize, just get. You can walk home.
What did you ruin?
It's only our poster that I've not been able to put up today because Karl's leaning against the wall. Anyway, so question, okay, to win these, okay, of all the Shrek films, I would like to know which one has grossed the highest amount of box office worldwide. Of all the Shrek films, which one?
You get one guess. You can't put in the comments 1, 2,
No,
3, 4.
you get one guess only, and best just to put the guess down without giving all the facts, because then other people might read all those facts and put the same guess.
Yeah, true.
But anyway, listen, it's a good little gift this, and it will get you having a little look about it, box office and all that.
Yeah.
Right, anything else to add, sir?
No, again, Carl, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
coming.
Yeah, real
Really
pleasure.
nice.
Thank you, Karl. It's been awesome.
Really lovely to
and don't
meet
forget,
you.
everybody, floaters.
We're aiming, I want 1,000 subs by Christmas. Eventually, I think we'll get some nice momentum, and I'd love to have Carl back when we can.
Yeah, the first 1,000's the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can
Well, I mean, you've only
monetize
got
on
about
that. 4
friends, haven't you, on Facebook? So
Yeah.
I don't
He
think
never goes on Facebook.
Well, that's right. Well, what are we bringing in for then? Because we wanted subscribers.
No, I haven't. Well, I do. I mean, I've got there's people. I've got people on Facebook, but Twitter. That's where you really want to.
Twitter's good.
Five people then.
Just hit. So no, I hit the 10K on Twitter just as Twitter just went down the toilet.
You only go.
I put a lot of work into that, and then
You only go on Facebook to post your letterbox charts.
No, I had no idea that was happening. So thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg, for just stealing that information. I didn't know that.
Well, look,
That was a joke. I don't know.
I
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't
I hope that at least as a result of this, some people that are now watching this are actually friends of Karl's, and they have subscribed
and added me on Letterboxd. So.
and added them on and put them in my letterbox.
yeah.
Yeah, let us know what you think of floaters.
Yeah, floaters. Yeah, comment on that. Definitely.
Stupid thing.
Okay, so bye, bye.
Man caves and margaritas. Joe, Liz, and Gavin talking about their favorite features.